name's Charles. I'm married with two boys, one at university, one going to university. I'm a partner of a consultancy practice working in housing. I live in northwest London, which is Ruislip. Very much interested in sport, politics and running. I do a lot of running. I've run 9 London marathons, touch wood, aiming for my 10th. I would say I'm creative, I'm fun and I'm passionate. I like to come up with new ideas, I like to think differently. I was diagnosed with CML, which is chronic myeloid leukemia. I was diagnosed with that in 2005. I had been feeling unwell for about 6 months, but every symptom I put down, there's a reason for it. So I was breathless, wasn't fit, terrible bruising, I've always bruised, night sweats, very hot, it was quite a hot summer, and I'd been backwards and forwards to doctors and other people for a while, but skirted around the edge. And it wasn't until I did a blood test that I realised I actually had CML, and it was quite a shock. I'd never really heard of the term. I certainly didn't know what CML was. I'd heard of leukemia, and suddenly found out at the age of 33, with 2 young boys, that I had CML. And my life changed completely after that point. I went down the medication route and I signed up to 3 different trials over the next 15 years and still on another trial now. And it was a spirit trial, and this trial was a mixture of old and new drugs being combined. Some were, the old were the injections, the interferon, and the new was the imatinib, which they call the golden bullet. It's a special drug they had brought out. And I was very fortunate that I was able to take imatinib. That journey has been continuing on. Went for blood tests today. I'm having to have regular blood tests. CML will never disappear. It will always be with me. I have to have a blood test done at least every 2 months for life, and it's consistently monitored. And I have to do other tests in relation to blood pressure, and other blood tests have to be done as well. CML will continue to be with me for the rest of my life, although technically I'm in remission, as they say. I'm not, because at any time it could come back, and that's why I'm monitored on a minimum of 2-month basis. For me, a good day is being alive, being able to do things I want to do, and being able to carry on. A good day is when, got through the day, I'm very happy, I've achieved something. I think about CML all the time. When I wake up, go to sleep, it's always on my mind. If anything goes wrong, anything else, I get worried. I was really worried about COVID, and I get worried as a bad day, I have aches and pains. I do a lot of running. I'm finding I'm starting to pick up kind of injuries which I never really used to have, and I worry if it's something more sinister, a bit like when I had CML. When I've had kind of like marks on my face, I get really, really worried. And anything which kind of goes untowards, or if the blood test results maybe aren't as good, I get worried. If there's been a 1 log increase, I get worried. In relation to CML, all of the different medications I have here, and obviously can access those at home all the time. I'm able to renew my prescriptions accordingly through the app, NHS app, which is great. I can only do 1 month at a time, and I have to always request, which is a bit of a pain. Another big change is blood pressure. So this is my blood pressure machine, and in relation to my CML, I can monitor that at home. I don't and this is the most important thing, I don't suffer from the white coat syndrome, which I have in hospitals and doctors. Quite often I would have my blood pressure done in a doctor's or hospital, and they would give up because of the white coat. I would get a bit more stressed out, and they would do free readings, it wouldn't work. So now I would do a blood pressure, I get a text sent from the doctors and they say, can you please send us your blood pressure? And I actually fill it into a form, which is quite good. So it actually goes straight into my system. So that's a much better way of doing blood pressure. In relation to appointments with doctors, that has changed slightly, where I would always have to used to go in, but now I'm doing more telephone calls. Two big things I can't do at home, which I could, is obviously blood tests, and maybe talk about that later, but I still have to go into hospital for blood tests. In relation to injections, again, a bit hit and miss. I, in the past, have been able to have injections done at home, which has been done by my wife, in relation to interferon. So injections at home is not bad, however the amount that you can store and keep is quite limited, and it's not easy. So in relation to, I would only be able to be given 0.2 mils of a dosage, which is really, really small, about half the size of my fingernail. But obviously the dosage would come in like 3 or 4 mils, so you'd have to like put it into another tube and then administer it. It wasn't easy. The significant benefits of health at home and managing things at home is obviously being less time spent in hospitals. Parking charges, one of the biggest things. Pre-pandemic and several years ago, I was spending a fortune in car parks. So that's a big thing, and you can be more flexible in your day and working from home, and then you can manage things a lot more effectively that way. So I think those have been big advantages. I think the advantage in relation to obviously medication and how that's managed, being able to obviously manage it through your app, being able to collect at the chemist and things like that is very good. And now these are all things that weren't possible at the start of my CML journey and are possible now. So I think they are being the big benefits. It's given me time back. It's also enabled me to do other things in relation to health. So I'm not just always in the hospital. I could be proactively doing things at home. So rather than spending 4 hours in the hospital, I could spend maybe half an hour in the hospital and then do a 2-hour run or walk or something like that. So it's given me time back, and I think that's the thing. That's what's really important. The option to manage a lot more of your health at home is really, really important. I think it gives you time back. It means you're not having to spend unnecessary time in hospitals, and you can work around your diary rather than you having to work around the NHS diary. Now with some of the appointments like on a phone, it's basically just having a phone call, and my wife can be on that phone call as well. So that's a big difference. We don't seem to, within the NHS, got to kind of video calls as yet, which I think is the natural next stage as part of that kind of consultation process. For me, the biggest drawback by not seeing people on site is seeing the whites of people's eyes and checking things through. And I think from a practicality point of view, it's not the end of the world if you don't see your consultant every time. But the biggest drawbacks, obviously, is for some illnesses, if I talked about my SCC, that has to be kind of looked at and felt around the edges. That can't be done remotely. So there is a concern that, misdiagnosis or kind of not picking up things was poor. I still very much value seeing my consultant every time. If I alternated one at home, one with them, generally that's fine. I just find at the moment it's a bit hit and miss. So they could say, right, we'll come in today, or we don't want you coming in today. And a lot of it, in all fairness, is driven by the pandemic. So it's a bit unpredictable when I could come in and not. The biggest thing obviously is the emotional side. They can't see you, they can't see how you feel, they can't maybe pick up other things. So I think the biggest thing is that emotional impact that you miss by not seeing your consultant is the biggest drawback. The other small thing is also the administration of some drugs, especially the interferon. At times, that was done slightly incorrectly in relation to the needle position. It was not done on an angle, it was done straight. It caused problems, it was painful. Too much had been administered. It would be wonderful if we could have more, blood tests, or people coming to the home would be a great thing. I know there was some studies done a while ago, this was pre-pandemic, where you could put your finger into a machine and it could do a little prick, and that would be a full blood count, or FBC as they call them. But that's where I think it would make a massive change. And if a full blood count could be done by you putting your hand into a machine and it taking a prick, and then that result's been sent to the hospital, that would be a massive game changer, especially for me, because obviously I have to go into hospital to get full blood counts done. So I think it's important that you are given the choice. Some people would say, do you know what, I'm really happy to speak to you on the phone, I'm really happy not to have to come in. Other people say, I want to see you, a bit like myself, I want to see the person. So I think it's important that you are still given options. You aren't told, actually, everyone has to go down this particular route, whether you like it or not.